Hello, folks, and welcome to the Modders Inc. podcast number 43. We are currently in the heated debate and the planning stages of QuakeCon. So you know that Modders Inc. has always had a very heavy presence in the modding competition at QuakeCon, with the 24 hours of the mods, as well as the BYOC participation in the modding competition, the stratification, if you will, of the modding submissions, how it is that we want to organize them, and we've been kind of discussing those here just before we started up the pod. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of insight in regards to how Modders Inc. works towards a big event like QuakeCon and how we try and set it up and balance it so that everybody can have the most enjoyment possible. So on the line we have Dewayne sitting over there probably trying to choke down some food. There's also there's Joe.
I'm sorry, I was terrified by what Dwayne just did. Hi.
Yeah.
I was eating a big burrito.
Eating a big burrito, and then you've got Ron sitting up in the Great White North of Canada. I think they're still. You're still in winter, aren't you?
Almost.
Okay.
No more.
I didn't realize you had a summer.
Ooh, snap. And then you've got Tom, the Brokaw. So when it comes to setting up a modding competition like what we're working on with QuakeCon, there's always the best laid plans. And you try and put the rules in place so that everybody can enjoy themselves, and you try and make it so that everybody can compete on equal footing. We had a nuance last year that kind of threw a wrench into it. So we're trying to figure out the best way to organize our rules to better accommodate for those particular situations. We had a really good debate going on over here just a little while ago in regards to how to stratify or organize people's builds so that you don't end up competing against something that is a one-off, impressive piece of electronic architecture, but really isn't a computer mod or even a scratch build. It's an amalgam.
Fabricated piece of machinery.
There you go. Something like that. So the debate continues, and it is hotly continuing here inside Modders Inc. so that we can try and get you guys set up to have the most enjoyable competition possible.
I guess we maybe debated it all out before we got on here.
I was telling you guys to save it. Well, let's start with the categories. What are the categories now, and what are the suggestions?
Well, right now we got the scratch build, which we know is anything that's other than a case.
Something you cannot go buy at the store, basically.
Right. So it could be made out of wood, plastic, metal, trash can. It could be whatever it's made out of, but other thing than a manufactured case. And then we have the other side, which is the case mod, which is a manufactured case and anything that's done to it, painted, cut, water cooling, sleeving, everything you can think of. Is basically how we got it.
And there's the idea of having an amateur versus pro. Or would that be something fair, or is that something that's feasible with a competition this size?
I think the hardest part about that is now you're going to start segregating a little bit. Like, who's the one that's going to say that no, he's a pro,
Precisely,
and he's an amateur, and he's a beginner?
Right.
You're going to get. It's going to be way too tough to do that. It's got to be based completely off of the case mod itself.
On top of that, you have some people that are very well known. So you take like Lee Harrington or Lee Christensen. And then you have someone that's not known at all, and they could produce something like what we saw last year at the first place for the scratch build. I mean, that thing was just it was a mechanically fabricated piece of art, but nobody had ever heard of that guy before.
What about in terms of sponsorship versus not sponsored?
Well, see, then again, you're getting into another whole different realm. How do you know who was or wasn't?
Well,
So is it
that's
gonna,
where the case logs part, the work log part comes in. Not one suggestion I think from a previous podcast. Not necessarily in terms of having a mandatory work log, but rather a 5 point deduction or a 5 point addition to their final score if they made a work log or if they did not make a work log.
And that 5 points can be crucial because we've had times where, I mean, I think we were discussing it before. I think, Joe, you were talking about it where there's been like 1 point in between making it and not making it.
Right, 5 points is major. So I mean, technically, our rules state now is that you can't enter a case that won. So, example, the guy that got first place, he can't enter that case against the competition. He's kind of already spent his money on that one. So, let's say somebody's not going to re-enter a case that they did last year. Maybe they don't have all the pictures, or they just did it. They just did it. They didn't worry about a work log. So, are they going to be punished because they didn't do a work log now?
yeah, see, that's tough. I mean, it's cool to have the work logs, and it's neat to be able to see that. But when you start making that a certain requirement, you're going to get a lot of people who are not going to do it because they're people who just don't know. I know, Craig knows, and some of the guys from the past really know because that's how you used to be able to do everything. You only did it through a work log through the forums. Now they flash by on Instagram or they flash by on Facebook and stuff, and that's how they think is a work log. I think it's a lost form of art that's a lot of people don't do anymore.
Yeah, it's just not coming back.
And then and a lot of people just won't do pictures. I mean, even though everybody has a freaking camera on them at all times with their phone, and you take a couple of pictures while you're doing stuff and you write something, you have a work log. But people just don't do that.
A lot of it's the instant gratification we have now with like Facebook and Instagram. You snap one picture, and there's 120 likes or tweets or whatever, and you kind of didn't get that with the forums. The forums, you had to dedicate time to the forums where Facebook's like, done. Let's see what happens now. But yeah, definitely the sponsorship thing. I mean, I could see where that could bite someone in the ass. They're like, no, nobody sponsored me. Well, if they happen to win, they tell us somebody sponsored them, and then you have a company like, say, Crucial sponsors them. And then they're just like, Crucial's like, hey, we gave you SSDs, we gave you memory. You said we didn't help you. What's going on there? So, if they do lie about it and they end up placing, or the company that sponsors them finds out that they didn't give them their due credit, it can bite them in the ass. I've seen it happen before.
One of the goals also is other than just figuring out who should place, who should win, is encouraging those who are just starting, or kind of making it seem so that they don't feel left out or not or don't feel like they can't compete at all, so they shouldn't try to compete. Well, what would be kind of something we can do as Modern Inc. to kind of entice them to join?
I think change the way it is because we have the classic mod, which consists of any mod that's built from existing bought retail PC case. Now, what about if we took that and said, okay, up to a certain point? Because a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll buy it and they'll go out and they'll buy a $300 or $400 case. They don't want to paint it. They don't want to cut it up, but they want to do everything else to it. Like they'll do a side windows, or they'll do the lighting, or all the other stuff, which probably 50%, 60% of the guys out there do. Then you have the other guys that go to the next level that do all the chrome plating of the tubing and spend $300 on paints or $1,000 on paints or do the scratch builds. I think those might be the levels we need to look at, because that would put people in different levels with the competition.
Yeah, I definitely can see where you're coming from on that one, because I mean, some people just don't want to take a Dremel or a drill to their like $500, $600 case labs case. And then you have people they're like $100 fractal case. I'm gonna mod the shit out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they don't care if they cut it up into little pieces and then try and put it back together. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, when you got a $500 case, you're like,
Definitely. I've been in the same boat, and people have different budgets as well. I mean, some guys they can afford like we wrote an article. It was a little bit after QuakeCon last year, pretty much explaining what we were looking for as judges. We'll attach that to this podcast so y'all can kind of have a refresher. But same rules stand. What we're really looking for is what can you mod or what can you do, not what you can pay someone to do.
And there
Exactly.
have been, yeah. I think it's been pretty fair so far, and there's been some criticisms we saw some people levy on Mars Inc. And we could address those. There's one guy who's saying that it's the same guys who won every year, which is just categorically incorrect. Because I don't know anyone who has won 3 years in a row. Well, I think there was maybe 3 years ago, but not for the last 3 years.
No, the only one that's been like repeated, Gary won I think 2 years, or he won first place twice.
But they're in
Adam,
different categories.
yeah, Adam Owen has won multiple years, but they've all been different categories.
Yeah.
And
And I mean, you can see even now, even amongst us, Modders Inc., we have differences in opinion about what should be done this way, what should be done that way. It's not that we're looking for the biggest, the shiniest, the most expensive case. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into this.
And also, I think it's because tastes change from year to year as well. And what impressed last year or 2 years ago, it doesn't necessarily impress the same way as it does for this year or next year. I mean, Gary Murphy, I think Navy Chief, he placed well over the last few QuakeCons, but he didn't place a top three of the last year. He was pretty much doing what he was doing previously.
Right. I mean, it goes with themes and fads in the community.
Yeah.
Last year, not last year, but the year before, it was impressive to see hardline tubing. Well, now everyone's got hardline tubing. That's a standard now.
Yeah.
You
Even
go
sleeving
back,
is a standard now.
yeah, you go back another year or two from that. Sleeving, it was impressive to see that. Now it's mandatory. You have to have very well either sleeve cables or very well done cables.
Yeah, but that always happens whenever you're trying to do something. You're always pushing to the next level.
There's always an evolution
Yes.
in case modding, and the big thing is, can you meet the minimum requirements of what the new evolution or the new deal is, the new fad, but can you make a new fad yourself? That is what people want to see. Is if you bring something to the table and all of us are just like dumbstruck, chances are you're going to do very well. If it's something we haven't seen before, even better.
Yeah,
As long as it's not 40 LED fans going all off at once.
Yeah, I think that's what scores the bigger points. Was you show something that's never been done, or you're not just following a trend. You're kind of setting your own trend.
I think the next thing is going to be Arduinos controlling things inside the system.
Yeah, automation.
We've
Yeah.
seen a couple of those so far.
Mm-hmm. We have.
Yeah, we've seen one which were kind of more modular, but I think will be interesting to see like more integrated.
Effectively, modding is sponsoring Skynet. So in a few years, the PCs are just going to walk around and be our overlords.
Well, it'll be interesting to see that.
There you go. Yeah.
Well,
Interesting's your word for it.
in terms of judges, this was also another criticism that people have been saying. Well, the judges have always been people who are kind of in the know, well, there's always one. There's always a senior guy from Modders Inc. There's either Craig or Dwayne judging. We have Nathan from CPU Magazine, who's a sponsor. He puts in a lot of money for the contest, so he has a right to be a judge there. And also a top modder who usually has won a contest himself, and the more casual Modders Inc. Guy, but is he's aware, he's within the circle as well. So even though he's not a top modder himself, he knows what's going on. He has his own taste, and he can see what the trend is with modding. So that's pretty much the judges from year to year.
Which, if I can go ahead and speak to that, is much better, I feel, than what it was many years ago. And I'm going to do my best not to be like a monkey flinging poo, but when you had people who didn't know what they were looking at, and they didn't know what to rate as a difficult technical modification on a case, they were just going by wow factor. You ended up with machines that were winning that, when you start to critique them, had a whole lot of problems, had a whole lot of errors, had bad paint or improper finish or cabling that just looked like crap once you start trying to get down into the nitty gritty. And then all of a sudden you're looking over here and you're seeing a machine that, from a technical standpoint, is an impressive build, but didn't place because it didn't have that wow factor, because you had judges in place that didn't know to look for those things. So where we feel like we've excelled with Modders Inc. is making sure that the people that spend the time doing the technical things for their mods get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah, are appreciated for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind, every year this contest gets harder and harder as far as entrants, and it gets harder for us to judge as well. But I entered the very first one that there was way before I was a Modders Inc. employee in 2012, and I can honestly say what was entered then compared to what it's entered now is night and day. I mean, you've got to. I entered in a time period where cable sleeving had just started, so my rig didn't have cable sleeving in it. I'm the cable sleeving guy. I didn't have water cooling in mind, but I managed to place second in the scratch build category because the way my mod was presented. So you don't need all the fancy bells and whistles. You just need something it's presented very well, and if we talk to you, let's try to be by your cases when we see you. That way you can tell us maybe something we don't know. Example, my case had a smoked acrylic window, so when it was off, it looked like a solid side panel. You turn it on, and then you can see all the components. You can tell us a little bit something that maybe we didn't catch. So
and there's also there's always going to be people who are not gonna agree with the experts on it. That's why we might be thinking of having a people's choice. Is that something we're okay with, or
I'm all good for that. I think that's what we need to do.
like a bonus aside from having a regular judged case mods?
I mean, yeah, and it could be as simple as an applause. I mean, but we can make it. Excuse me. We can make it as precise as we want it to be, or we can make it as informal as we want it to be. We just want to make sure that the people feel like they have a voice in regards to mods that they like. I mean, we may pick something that we see as an incredible build. The audience at QuakeCon may have their own personal favorite that they want to see win. So I think a people's choice is merited for a LAN party such as QuakeCon. I mean, the users are enthusiastic. They're very. I just lost the word. They react and they respond and they interact and they play the games, if you will. So if we put something out there like that includes everybody and has them has them casting votes, and they can watch their favorite mod, get more and more and more and more closer to victory. I think that'd be a good thing.
Another thing to keep in mind is we realize that there are some people that they prepare for this all year long. So really the only reason they go to QuakeCon is just for the modding competition. And then the guys are like, well, I just happen to have a mod. I'll enter it. Because of that, and it gets harder and harder every year to judge, we have to up the ante. So if you're trying to hide something in your case mod, chances are we're going to find it. So if you have like a rat's nest of cables hidden somewhere, maybe it's out of view of the window, but if we were to ask you to remove your side panel, and we see a giant rat's nest, you'll probably get points deducted for that. So the goal is we want a completed product, because like I said, every year it gets harder and harder for us to judge. So the level of competition, it just gets raised, and because of that, we've got to find different things to dock on or give applause on. So keep that in mind. And another lesson is, if you're modding just for the applause, not even for fun anymore, you're just doing it because you want to be in the spotlight or whatever, probably should take some time off modding. Modding is about the experience. And when that experience is just, I need the applause, I need the recognition, if I don't win, I'm going to support the guy that got first place in the neck, then, yeah, take the back seat for a while. Kind of check out some forums. Marketing.com, it's a pretty place. Shameless plug. But, yeah.
Reminds me a lot of that recent Batman Superman movie where the critics have it at like 29, and the audience have it at a little bit higher, not that high, but somewhere in between.
Oh, the Rotten Tomatoes thing. It's like
there's always
like a 30%.
There will be some disparity between experts, and and casual people always.
It's not easy to set this up for us to judge and what to judge on and the categories and what's going to mean what. I mean, we think about this full ahead. We've seen the post, we've seen the anger, we've seen the trash talking online. Yeah, we do see all that. It is online. We don't just exist at QuakeCon. We exist 365.25 days a year. But you know what? If you do have an issue with the way that we ran something, send us a message. Because if you're just venting on...
Yeah, it's not like we're not approachable or anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just venting on Reddit or wherever, and there's a chance we won't see it. So we're not going to know to keep that in mind for the next time. So it's like, if you had a problem with the way we judged, just shoot the Modders Inc. page a message. Say, hey, I kind of disagreed with this, or I did agree with this. Just try to be civil about it. Don't
come through as a douche.
Yeah, don't
don't
have a page of expletives and then expect us to be open-handed. We're just like, well, go eat a biscuit, dude.
It's a little cleaner than what you said earlier, so.
Well, I said a little earlier.
But yeah, I totally agree, because, I mean, some people also will see a picture on the internet and they'll look at it, and as we all know, everything you see on the internet is real. So it's got to be just like it is in the picture. When you see it up close, it's nothing like it. And that's where a lot of people go, oh, look at this, it looks great, it looks awesome, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but when you get up to it, you can see where all the paint runs are at, or the scratches, or where they've taken all the wires and they jammed them back behind the...
the mugboard tray.
So when we do the judging, it's high. Yeah, that's a 10. That sucks. That's a 7. No. It's actually done for real people.
And a lot of time when you see the pictures online of somebody will take a quick picture of a rig in the BYOC, keep in mind the BYOC is dark as shit. You can't see anything in there except pretty much the only light you're getting in the BYOC is the illumination from all the LCDs and the LEDs from the computers. That's about it.
Yeah.
So whenever we're judging, we have a bright light that we can shine on all these rigs. So
Yeah.
we're definitely looking into that. But it's like the old saying goes, the camera will shade 10 pounds. Well, camera shades quite a bit of unfinished business with the computer cases as well. So keep that in mind. We're definitely not trying to be vindictive when we're judging. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We try to keep it as fair as possible.
It's in the execution too, because I think a lot of people think that they have a cool idea and they did it, but you gotta execute them both correctly. You can't just rely on just one idea, especially with the level of competition with the mods now. You can't just rely on just a single idea because everything has almost been done.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I said earlier. Is if you can do something that just wows us, that we've never seen before, or you start setting a trend, even better.
Anything else, guys?
Wow, get quiet there real quick.
Crickets.
Tom has been pretty quiet. You something to add, Tom?
No, I've just been listening. As we talked about before, we had quite the discussion before the podcast, and I think we're on the right track of figuring out where we should be and where we want to be.
I'm trying to remember what Michael mentioned earlier while he was here. He wasn't able to join the podcast, but I can't
He's still
remember what
alive.
his opinion was. I apologize to Michael in advance if he sees this.
one of his opinions was that people need to classify themselves. So if we auditions to make sure they classify as an amateur or pro or I'm somebody who's just starting off. If we were going to go in that direction, I think if we start doing that, it's going to just get too muddled. We just have to just base it off of the cases, I think, and then go from there. I mean, is this a perfect situation? No.
No.
We're trying to do the best that we can. We're trying to be fair. And what happens is, so like this whole podcast is about this, is we're trying to be fair, and we want to make sure that we do it correctly, and we don't want to make anybody mad. But somebody out there is going to be mad because we didn't do it correctly and we didn't do it fair, is what they're going to say. So we take it very seriously. So throughout the year, what are things we're going to, what categories or what are we going to be looking for? So, we apologize now a little bit in case somebody gets pissed off later, but we do the best that we can, and I think we're the experts at this. If anybody else wants to try and their hand at it, I gladly extend my hand out to you and say, you give it a shot and try and make sure that everybody does it right. We've been around for years. I've been doing this for 15 years. Craig's been doing it for probably just as long. Joe and the other guys have been doing it 4 or 5 years. It's not like we started last week. We're not some of these guys who've just been around. We know what we're doing. We know what we're looking at. We have the experts in the fields. We are the best at what we're doing, and we are trying to make it the best that there is. There'll be mistakes, and there will be some probably oops, and there will probably be people who don't agree. But you know what? Everything is life.
Do you want to be salty? Go fly to Utah. It's only like a few states over. The giant salt flats there. Go be salty there.
Well, everyone's
comes
like
for having fun.
the grass is green on the other side. So you realize on the other side the floor is lava and everything's on fire and you're on fire. And you should have just kept your mouth shut. But
Fire!
Pretty good. We're almost up, so that's pretty good talk for 30 minutes.
a nice little heated discussion. I mean, like we said, even as a group, we're trying to make sure that the rules and what we're looking at evolves. It's not going to be the same as every year. The biggest, shiniest case filled with money is not going to get the vote every time. Unless it's just really, really good and it catches our attention. But, I mean, just do what you feel is best and we'll see it quick on.
And if you got comments, you got suggestions, you got complaints, you got bitches, you got gripes, you got moans, you got accolades, come put it down in the comments below. Put something down there. Get a discussion about this going.
Wholly agree. We can't fix it unless we know it's broke. So if you guys feel like you've been slighted, or you feel like that you see something that you think needs to be fixed, bring it to our attention. Either go to our Facebook page for Modders Inc., or go to our www.modders-inc.com, go to our webpage, send us an email, make a post in our forum. We're not difficult people to find. We're not gonna hide behind a mistake. Okay, we can't defend a mistake, but we do perform the best job that we can and try and put the most thought into our job, because we want to see this hobby progress. We want to see everybody push the limits. We want to be the trendsetters. We want you guys to be rewarded for that forward-thinking attitude, for that ability to push the limits and go beyond them. That's what we want to see. And if you think that you did it and we missed it, bring it to our attention.
Yeah, don't be afraid to talk to. If you see us at QuakeCon, just come talk to us.
Yeah.
We're not gonna buy it.
Yeah.
You want to talk to us, hang out, buy us a beer. I like Dos Equis. Even better. But yeah, we're easily approachable. We're people. We post cat videos online. We're just like normal people. Well, normal-ish.
No, yeah.
It's the super glue, man.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Joe, that guy's nuts.
All right, that's it. Pretty good. I think we've
All right.
covered a good amount this time.
Well, guys, that about does it for our podcast tonight. We appreciate you listening to us. We hope that you've enjoyed this and found it enlightening and informative. And maybe it might even make you a little bit more interactive with us, so that you can help us guide our modding competitions. We appreciate you. Most of all, we appreciate you. We really do. So on behalf of everybody at moddersinc.com that you see on this podcast, we bid you a fond adieu. Have a good evening. Take care.